AI agents are taking over in 2025, and if you were to look at the AI agent keyword research, you can see that the keyword popularity have exceeded exponentially. And if you were to compare which tool is best to build AI agents, you can see the popularity for n8n has exceeded Make.com, which is another automation workflow tool to build AI agents. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create AI agents from scratch without any coding backgrounds needed. I will teach you the fundamentals, the basics on how to use n8n and AI agents so that you can apply these skills to create more complex workflows and automate your repetitive tasks. So if you're interested, let's dive in and start building. And before we continue with the video, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. All right, before we start, I want to give you a demo on what we're trying to build in this video. So here you can see this is the workflow, right? The entire workflow we're trying to build in this video. So basically you can see that what we do here in this workflow is that first we're listening for the Telegram for any messages. So if there's any incoming message that was sent on the right, then it will be picked up here. And once the message triggered the workflow, it's going to pass the instruction to the AI agents. And because we can also send voice message in Telegram, so that's why we can also use a OpenAI here to transcribe the voice to text. And here we basically have our AI agents to do our instructions. So we're basically using a GPT model, which I'm using GPT-4 Mini. But once you have that, you can see here that I also have tools. And these tools are what we give permissions to AI agents to write or perform actions on our behalf. For example, reading emails or deleting emails, or also writing records to Google Sheets. Now, of course, we can also give more powers to the AI agents. For example, it can interact with the vector database, or it can also use other tools like Airtable, Gmail, Google Calendars, Google Docs, or Jira tools, all those kind of tools. And once the AI agents complete all those tasks, it's basically going to send the result output to our message. So here you can see this is the output, which is a Telegram message. So once it's completed, it's going to send the message back to us in the Telegram chat. So let's try to test this workflow, right? So here you can see I have a lot of emails in my inbox, right? So a lot of emails that are mail delivery failed. And what we can do is you can see that I get a lot of them. This happens when you send an email that does not exist, right? So in this case, what we can do is we can let AI agents to help us to clean it for us, right? So we're going to first get all the emails from our Gmail accounts. And then once we extract those emails, then we also want to put those emails to the Google Sheets. So for example, like these emails right here, we want to extract this email right here and put them to Google Sheets, but also I want to delete those emails as well. So delete emails that are deliver status notification delayed, right? So we want to delete them. So in this case, in the chat here, I'm just going to give the instruction. So here, for example, for all the deliver status notification delay emails, can you find and extract all the email address that were blocked or undeliverable and append them one by one to Google Sheets and delete those emails in Gmail. And if we were to look at the accounts, you can see that we currently have about 19 emails that are all like this. So what we can do is currently is active, and I'm going to run this workflow. All right, so you can see now the workflow has finished, and you can see that we do have the output for the message on the workflow. And you can see that these are the emails that we extracted. And if we were to take a look at our Gmail account, you can see that there are no emails left. And if we were to take a look at the Google Sheets, you can see that currently there are about 18 records added to the sheets, right? So pretty much you can see that this workflow has automated this entire process for us to read emails from our inbox, to delete any records, as well as extracting informations from our Gmail inbox to Google Sheets or Google Docs or anything, right? So you can see that this is a really simple workflow, but of course in this video, I will teach you exactly how to build this workflow step by step so that you can build any complex workflows that you like in the future. So with that being said, if you're interested, let's get started. All right, so to get started, first we're gonna navigate to a website called n8n.io. And then once we are on this platform, we're gonna click on get started to sign up for an account. So once we are on the platform, we're going to click on start from scratch to start a new workflow. So then once we're on the workflow, we can then click on the plus sign here to basically start a trigger. So here we can select what triggers this workflow. So we can select a trigger manually, or the on schedule or on webhook call. So in this case, we're just going to use the Telegram. So we're going to select Telegram for the trigger. So here we're just going to trigger by a message. So whenever we send a message in the Telegram chat, it's going to trigger this workflow. So then we're going to click on message. And then here we have the prompt, and we're going to connect our Telegram with the current workflow. So here we're just going to create new credential. And then here we need to pass the access token. So to get the access token, we're going to follow the documentation for the n8n documentation with Telegram. So here what we're going to do is we're going to first follow this documentation. So the Telegram credentials, we're going to have the Telegram accounts created. And then we also need to use the API bot access token. So we're going to interact with the API bot to get our access token here by interacting a robot or a bot called the bot father. So we're going to start a chat with bot father here. And once we click it, you can see that we're navigate to the Telegram and we can start to chat with the bot father. So what we can do is here you can see we can navigate back to documentations and then copy the command to create a new robot or to create a new bot. Okay, so here I'm just going to paste the new bot command. And then here is asking for the name of the bot. So I gave it a name for the workflow trigger bot. And then here is basically asking for the username. And then once the username is created, then it will basically generate the API key below. So then I paste the access token here and then click on save. All right, so once we have the Telegram is connected, then here on the left, we have events. So any message that we sent to this bot that we created is going to be captured here. So let's send a message. So I'm going to click on test step. And then here in the Telegram, I send a message called hi there. And then here, notice on the right, which is the output, you can see that we do have a text called hi there, which is being captured by the Telegram chatbot. And then here, once we have the chatbot is connected for the workflow trigger, then we can worry about the next step. And because for Telegrams, we can send messages or a voice message. So there are two types of messages that we can send. So because of that, we need a switch to detect if it's a voice. If it's a voice file, then we will have to use transcript or transcribe tool to basically convert the voice to text. If it's just text, then we can just continue with the AI agents or building the workflow, right? So to do so, we're going to click on the plus sign and then type in the switch. And then here inside of the switch, we can be able to pass the routing rules. So here, I'm just going to pass in a value. So it depends on the input field. We can basically decide if it's going to be whichever routes we navigate to, right? So here we can see this is a text message. So we can basically just drag this to here. And this is going to be text. So we can have a condition here. So if the text is equal to, or we can click on this to see if the string exists, right? So if this is a text, if this is actually a string, right? So in this case, what we can do is if it's text, then this route is going to be called text. All right, pretty simple. Because we also have voice, so we're also going to add another routing rule. So what's going to happen is I'm going to test this by click on the voice button here. So hello, this is Eric. So I'm going to send a voice message and I forgot to test the workflow. So I'm going to click on test the workflow here. So then here you can see the workflow has successfully executed, which means the Telegram picks up the message and actually put the input into the switch. So here inside of the switch module or the switch operator, you can see that we do have a voice that's coming in and we do have the file ID. We also have the file or the voice object. So in this case, I need to put the voice object. So what we need to do is we want to see if the voice object exists inside of the input. If it does, then we know that this is a voice file, right? So then we can do a further process there. So we're going to see, in this case, is it going to be object? So we're going to see if the object exists. If it exists, we're going to name it to voice. And then here you can see this is red because we can see that this is input is a voice. And if we were to close this, you can see that we have the route for text and voice. And in our workflow, we can also edit the fields. So we can type in fields and click on edit. So for example, based on the input, we want to change the variable name for the text. So we can do so here for the edit fields. And then what we can do is let's try to test the workflow here. I'm going to send a message saying hi there, and then I'm going to come back, click on test workflow. The edit fields picks up the inputs, and then we're going to click on this. You can see that we can be able to drag a input and change it. So for example, I can change the input from the Telegram trigger. It can also be switched as well, so it doesn't really matter here. So here we can see that this is the variable name, so it's the message text. So we can change the fields so to something like message text, right? Something like that. Once we're done with the text, now we're going to set up the voice route. So for the voice route, we're going to first get the voice, which in this case, a voice is basically a file. So we have to select Telegram and then select get a file. So we're going to click on get a file. And then here inside of our input, you can see that right away we have the voice file, right? So for the voice file, we're going to drag the file ID of that voice to the parameters here. And then here on the right, we have the output, which here you can see this is the voice file. And then once we have the voice file, we're just going to search for the OpenAI to basically transcribe our voice file to text. So in this case, what we can do is we can use the OpenAI for the transcribe. And here we're going to click on the audio actions, and here we can be able to translate the audio, or we can be able to transcribe the audio. So we're going to use that. And then here I have already signed up for the credentials for the OpenAI by passing the OpenAI API key. But once you set up the credentials for OpenAI, what we can do is once we have the audio file like this, we can literally select the operation to transcribe a recording. And if we were to click on the test step, you can see that this is the text. So this is what I said. I said, hello, this is Eric. And it will basically catch that. All right, so far we have set up the Telegram input. So far we have connected the Telegram and also add a switch statement to get the audio file and convert it into text. All right, so once we've done that, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add the AI agent to our workflow. So we're gonna select AI agent here. And once we're here, we can also edit our input. So I'm going to merge the input. So by passing the data from our voice transcription to the AI agent here. All right, so once we have that, you can see here that in the AI agent here, you can see we have three things. One is the chat model, memory, and the tool. So for a chat model here, we can select whatever models we like, for example, Anthropic, the DeepSeek, or Azure OpenAI. We can also use the OpenAI chat model that we have set up already. So in this video, I'm just gonna use the OpenAI chat model here. So what I'm gonna do is for the OpenAI chat model, I'm gonna use the GPT-4 Mini. Okay, so now if we were to test the entire workflow and see how the AI agent respond, let's click on test workflow. And I'm gonna, here on the right, I'm gonna ask a question. So for example, I'm gonna say, what is 2 plus 3? Or for example, let's say 1 plus 1. Right, so we are getting the question sent, and you can see that is received by the AI agents, which sent to the chat model here, and then sent back to the AI agent for the result. So if I were to click on the AI agent here, you can see the output is 2, right? This is the output on the right, and we're basically listening from the input that we receive for text. But let's say if I want to send an audio file on the right, you can see we send an audio file. And let's try to test the workflow again, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to test the workflow again. You can see we have audio file picks up, but you can see that the AI agent is not able to detect that. So let's see why. So you can see that the input here, we are listening for JSON.message text, but we don't have message text. So how do we solve this problem? Well, to solve this problem, the reason is because we need to use an if-else statement. So if the message text exists, then we're gonna use JSON.message text, right? That's the message text from the chat. But if it's an audio file, then in this case, we're gonna use an object. I don't think we need to use an object here. What we need to do is we need to use the object that we have for the result of the OpenAI transcription. So that's gonna be the JSON.text. All right, so JSON.text. And then here, we can also test the workflow. So if I were to send a message, so text message here, I'm gonna say, what is 2 plus 2? It's gonna pick up from the text. And let's say if I'm going to send a recording. So let's say I'm just gonna send a recording, ask a simple questions to GPT. And once I finish the recording, you can see here that I'm going to test the workflow again. And it should pick up for the voice. So you can see that it go through this workflow. So everything works successful. You can see that this is the question on the left and the answer is on the right. And we can also add a system message. So here on the options, we can add a system message. So it says that you are a helpful assistant, but we can also include more things. So for example, I want to have short answers, right? Or it could be something like, I also want to have short and concise answers. And once we have everything set up, then we can also add an output. So the output could be something like Telegram. So we're going to select Telegram here, and we're also going to select send message. So it's going to send the result message to the chat on the right. So we're going to say send message here. And then we're also going to define the output. So the output is going to be generated by the AI agent. So we're going to drag this to the text. So that's going to be the result that we're going to send. So then what about the chat ID? Well, the chat ID, you can see here on the Telegram, we can have many chats, right? We can have many chats between groups chats, the individual chats between one-on-one. So what we can do is we can go into the input and let's take a look at the chat here. So we can see that this is the Telegram triggers and it shows where the chat ID is from. So based on this is the chat ID. So we're going to drag this ID to the chat ID here. Okay, so now if I were to close this and I'm going to navigate to Telegram and ask a question. So what is 4 plus 6? Okay, so now I'm going to test the workflow again by click on the test workflow, and let's see how the AI agent responds. So here you can see pretty fast, we have 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. All right, so far you can see this is our basic workflow. We have the Telegram, which triggers the workflow when we send a message. And then depends on the message type, either this is a text, then it's going to go through this flow right here and directly go to the AI agents. Or if it's a voice, then we're first going to get the voice message, and then we're going to go to the AI to transcribe this recording, right? Once we have the voice converted to text, then we're going to go to the AI agents. And then here, once we have the input prompt, and then it's going to ask the ChatGPT to get the output. And then once we have the output, it's going to send the message back to us. So something like this. So because this is a basic workflow, and what we want to do now is we want to also add the tools. So in this case, to add a tool, we can click on the plus sign right here. And then we can either, for example, search for Gmail, for example, Telegrams, or there could be so many things that we can do, right, in terms of Google Sheets. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Gmail here. We're just going to use the agent first to read what we have inside of our inbox. So if I were to navigate to my Gmail right here, so you can see that this is my emails. You can see that we're getting a lot of mail delivery failed emails. And in this case, what I want to do is I want the AI agent to read it. And that's going to be our first step. So in this case, I'm just going to type in Gmail, and then I'm going to select the Gmail tool right here. So here we can just click on the create new credentials, and we're just going to sign in with Google. So here I'm just going to choose one of the accounts. Okay, once the connection is successful, then we can change the operation. So in this case, we can click on get many, which first we want to read what we have inside of our Gmail. And then in terms of the limits, we can also set for a certain limit. For example, we only want to return, for example, 10 emails. And then here we also have the filters. So we're going to click on filters here, and then we're going to click on labels and names. And then here we're going to select the inbox. So we want to get all the emails that we have for the inbox that we have, right? So this is the inbox messages that we have. We can also select a particular labels from our email as well. So once we have the filter selected, which in this case is going to be inbox. So with that being said, let's click on test workflow, and let's try to test the workflow here. So here I'm just going to say, so if I were to say, give me a summary of any of my emails, for example. And here we are running the workflow from data to Gmail to Open ChatGPT all the way to the Telegram. So here you can see we have our results, which we can see that we found several emails that we are unable to deliver and were either blocked or the address were not found. So here you can see I'm just going to ask a question. So for all the deliver status notification failed emails, and extract all the email address that were blocked or undeliverable. So the goal is that we want to try to extract all those emails. So what we're going to do, we're going to ask AI agents to do so. And we're going to click on the test workflow, and basically it's going to do that for us. So because we only set a limit to 10, and you can see that we have found 10 emails that are blocked and undeliverables. So in that case, what I want to do is I want to output these into a Google Sheets. Okay, so then I'm going to click on the plus sign and going to search for Google Sheets.tools. And I'm going to create the credentials. So create new credentials, sign in with Google here. And I'm simply just going to grant access to that. Okay, so once the connection is successful, so here I'm just going to put the title for this Google Sheet. In this case, the operation is basically going to be creating a spreadsheet, and the title is delivery status notification failure. And then sheet title, for example, sheet number 1. So then once I connect the Google Sheets AI agents, then what I want to do is I want to send a message to basically extract all the emails that were blocked or undeliverable, and the column name is email address. Okay, so then I'm going to send this message right here, going to click on test workflow. So it's going to extract all the emails, and then it's going to convert it and put it into Google Sheets format. So let's take a look at the end result. Okay, so you can see here that I have extracted the blocked or undeliverable email address and store them in a Google Sheet, and you can access here. Okay, so you can see that we are able to create the Google Sheets, but we did not put any records. And that's because we only create the Google Sheets, but we did not send any operations for appending the records. And because this data here is generated by data from the Gmail, which is getting read by the chat model, and then the chat model will be basically setting the data to Google Sheets. So what we need to do is we will need to use that data, which is why we need to specify this expression here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first specify the resource, which in this case is sheet within a document. And here I'm going to specify one of the documents. In this case, you can see is this document right here. So you can see that I have a column called emails. And then here I'm going to specify the sheet, which in this case, inside of that Google Sheet, there is sheet 1. I'm going to specify that. And then here I can also change the operation. So because we're only going to append, so I'm going to click on append row, which is create a new row in the sheet. So you can see that it detects the values to send. So this is going to be the column. So we're going to put the value here. So now if I were to save this, and I'm going to test workflow, and it's going to listen for the workflow. I'm going to say for all the deliver status notification failure emails, can you extract all the email address that were blocked or undeliverable and append them one by one to the Google Sheet. So I'm going to send this request. You can see that it's reading data from the Gmail, and then it's going to extract those data from the chat model here. And then hopefully eventually it's going to go to the, so here you can see it's going to the Google Sheets. So we have, let's see, 10 records added to the Google Sheets. Okay, so you can see that all the blocked and undeliverable emails have successfully extracted and appended to Google Sheets. And these are all the emails here. And if I were to check the Google Sheets, you can see that we do have 10 records added here. So with that being said, we can also add additional tools. For example, I can also search for Gmails, and then we can have the operation to delete those emails for those mail deliverable failure, right, or undeliverable emails. And then here we're going to specify the message ID that we're going to delete from the AI agent output. So here, this is going to be the output from AI agents, and we need to give it a description on what are the output. What's the output that we're expecting here? So the output here we're going to specify is going to be the message ID that we're going to delete. So we are also going to have the AI to extract that as well. So I'm going to specify that, but I'm also going to come back to Google Sheets to also specify the description of the AI agent output. So here we're going to add a description, and we're just going to say that this is going to be the email address, right? These are the email address that we're going to append it to the Google Sheets, so that we extract it from the Gmails and we're going to append it to the Google Sheets. And we're going to run this again. So this will basically delete the emails that I have. Should be, so currently we're at 50, but hopefully it should delete 10 records. I'm not going to extract all the emails that are blocked and also delete those emails in Gmail. Okay, so I'm going to click on test workflow, and so here you can see it's reading the data and it's processing the data in the AI model. Let's see what it does first. Okay, so you can see that we have 10 operations has been done for Gmail. And if I were to look at the operations, you can see that we have deleted successful. So if I were to click on Google here and refresh, you can see now we're down to 40 instead of 50. So you can see that we have successfully extracted and also deleted from Gmail. But of course, with the current workflow, we can also increase the limit for how many emails we can read. So currently we're reading only 10 emails. So you can see the limit is 10, but let's see what we have. So we have about 30 emails. So what we can do is we can increase the limit. So I'm going to increase that to 30. And then I'm going to click on the test, delete the test workflow. And I'm going to click on test workflow right here. And then try to run the same prompt again, and this should extract all 30 emails that we have. All right, so you can see that we have extracted some emails, total roughly around 26 items, but we are getting an error for the API quota for the actions was reached. Most actions were completed successful. Okay, so we have complete 26 items added to the Google Sheets as well as Gmail. And if I were to take a look at the Gmail really quick, refresh, we should see that there's only roughly around a couple left. But what we can do is we can run this again because the remaining emails are still there. So what I can do is let's try to ask the question one more time. And then click on test workflow. This time it should really just delete the existing ones that we have. So let's take a look at this and refresh. We should see nothing. Okay, so here, if we were to look at our email, you can see that we have about total 50 records.